All right. Back to business. Yo, what's up, guys? Yo, Nark, how you doing, man? Yo, what's up, Isham? What's up, Firekeeper? What's up, Alfie? Yo, Chirico, how you doing, bro? Watching during lunch break? Hey, man, let's go. Alright, well, let's get to it. Ugh, boy. Already yawning. We have not done like one invasion. The only lady, you've been waiting for this? I did it a few times. Like, surprisingly, like, this was actually really good for invasions. Because it does a lot of damage and is very good at roll catching. And so it was surprisingly a good invasion setup, I felt. I don't know about 1v1, but for invasions, I really liked it. I also really like Spin Slash. For Milady, because very often, like this guy, you have to fight type armor weapons. And if not for Spin Slash, you don't really have any options. Well, right now we can't really do anything. Although right now I'm thinking maybe I should be doing this instead. Until you're in a small space. Yeah, when you're in a small space, you're basically, like, your weapon is gonna bounce off of everything. If I do that, can I get rid of this? Yeah, I can, okay. Maybe it would be better if I do this. Or maybe even, this. Yeah, it's going to be better. Thanks again, by the way, Firekeeper, for the resub, man. Thanks a lot. The tier 3 resub, too. Guys, I mean, for those who were there last stream, like, we took a look at, like, one game from Capcom that got canned that looked like a really cool project. But basically, I'm still in that weird mode of, like, you know, thinking about, like, what else are we gonna play, like, after this? Feels like, I'm eager for something else, you know? Probably gonna play the next Elder Scrolls though, that's for sure. Oh, is that the right spawn? I think this might be right. I don't know. Nope, maybe not. Yeah, this place and the spawns are always really bad. You never really know. I'm used to Skyrim too, you know, like in Skyrim, like the devs have like this, you know, like the exits are gonna be lit by a fire. Like there's always gonna be a light source near an exit. And from some of the light source are just everywhere, like completely random. So like I saw that light source in the end there, and I was like, oh, maybe there's the exit, or maybe there's the elevator. Guys, I don't know where to go, guys. We're gonna play the respawn roulette again. You're optimistic for next year, apart from Duskblood, other project they're working on. Hopefully PvP too. Definitely won't be Elden Ring size. Oh yeah, definitely won't be Elden Ring size. Yo, Alluvial, thanks for the resub, bro. Thanks for the 20, man. Welcome back, Alluvial. Black Crystal moment. Yeah, if we don't respawn close to them after this next one, I mean... you can't really do anything like this. They just give you, like, terrible spawns where... You can't even tell where the enemies are. Be on the other side of this. Oh, are we getting somewhere? Oh my god, after all of this, guys, we made it. Bear Claw and fucking Fingerprint. You know what? That requires a swap. I definitely still like the hand-to-hand against shields. The fact that you guard break so easily with the R2s. Shield forcing setup change as feet Izaki intended. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I don't hate playing with hand-to-hand though. It's an interesting option. That 1-inch punch, yeah. I mean, it does really good stem damage. Nightreign was a success, but people seem tired of it already. Just being pure PvE game kind of drives it out so fast. I don't know if it's because it's a pure PvE game. I think it's just because the game lacks content in general, whether it's PvE or PvP, you know? You know me, I like PvP, I want to see PvP, but I think we have to be honest here. Like, Nightreign just lacks content, period. Does it really matter if it's PvE, PvP, or what? Like, their DLC is just tiny. Like, they added only 2 characters. Like, it's like if we were to play the percentage game, like, okay, like, you develop a game, and so you make, like, 20% of the game you have. It's just that the problem is that Nightreign, when it launched, was, like, 20% of what would be the size of a DLC. Like, Nightreign could have been an Elden Ring fucking DLC, and would have been smaller than Shadow of the Erdtree, you know? And so, if you release a DLC for that DLC, well, it's even smaller. Oh, I think we're at the wrong spot. I don't even think we can reach from here. They're, like, completely up. Also, I mean, it's quite obvious that Nightreign simply did not have the resources that the projects that you're used to seeing from FromSoft had. Like, the limited resources translate into the basically what you saw there. Rare footage of using the standing L1. How hard is it to slap a bunch of bosses into the game? You can't really do that. Like, they can't just take bosses and slap it in there. Like, they have to adapt it. They have to adapt it, and when we're talking about small team, like, you have to keep in mind, like, FromSoft, like, yes, it's a AAA studio, but it's one of the smaller one. And before, like, Dark Souls 3, like, it was almost considered like a AA studio, really. Just because it wasn't a very big studio. Like, actually, let me look up how many people work there right now. I'm actually interested. How many developers work at From Software in 2020? Or let's see, in 2010 and 2025. Let's see. Maybe I should just ask separately. Okay, right now, FromSoft has about 450 employees. Right now. Oh no, that's okay. 456 employee. Oh no, okay. Wait, what? What the fuck? Okay, check this out, guys. In 2010, FromSoft had approximately 456 employees, while as of May of 2025, the number of employees remained 456. What the hell? I'm not sure if it's just like AI rambling. Oh, it's AI rambling because it just gave me a different answer. It said that in 2010, FromSoft had about 200 employees. Because it wouldn't make sense that it had the same amount of employees because they hired after Elden Ring. Okay, so take these numbers with a grain of salt. It could be just AI gibberish. But I think that makes sense. Like from 200 to 456 though is accurate right now. So they have like 456 right now. Because I saw an article in the search pages. And so like 456, you compare that to a lot of these other like bigger studios. At 456, I'd say it's a decent size. It's definitely not like, you know, AAA, like Rockstar level AAA where they have like fucking a bazillion people working on the same project, but I would venture to say that there's probably like I mean, there's definitely less than 100 people that have been working on Nightreign, like way less than that. Probably even, you know, around the 50s, maybe less. Like it's probably like a very small team. And so again, like from a business point of view, like you had like maybe less than 50 people, like we're speculating, I don't know the numbers, but let's say you had less than 50 people working on Nightreign. And then Nightreign still sold massively, was well received for the most part, and people found themselves wanting more. And so that's a big win, you know, like you allocate your limited resources, and it proves to be like a successful endeavor. It's a new project from a new, not a new member of the team, but in a new role, let's say. I'd say, like, for us, maybe some of us are disappointed about Nightreign that it wasn't, like, up to the standard, so to speak, that you'd expect from FromSoft, but in the grand scheme of things, with their limited resources, it was a massive success, because it's like, you know, if you invest $100 and you get, like, $100,000 out of it, like, you're gonna be, like, jubilating, but, you know, if you invest, like $90,000 and you get like $100,000 out of it, it's not the same, obviously. And so from the perspective of FromSoft, they invested very little and got a big return out of it. The DLC sucked? I don't know, I haven't played it. Why did it suck, Callie? Was the typical insanely fun with your friends slash girlfriend slash game? Yeah, that's what I felt like. You know, I didn't hate Nightreign. I played, like, I stopped playing when they started rotating the same night bosses. That's when I stopped playing, because it was too repetitive for me, and even though I really enjoyed playing with Hackrish, playing with Cleve, Canuck, you know, with Mem, like, it was a lot of fun playing with these guys. I really had a blast playing with them. Even though I had a blast with them, it was having a hard time keeping my attention. Oh, come on, man. Can we get a knockdown for once? Jesus Christ. Finally, dude. I decided to go this way. Golden mods. He's a golden teacher cousin. Was it free? Was this DLC? Wait, was it free, this DLC of the DLC? Wait, what? There they are. That's what I like about this. It's that you can spam these jump attacks, and it's just it catches people. It's just even good players. It's hard to not panic roll these. It's kind of a mid-game, just so happened that the industry standards are so low that Nightreign feels a lot better than it actually is. I would actually agree with that. I would agree with you because what Nightreign does, it does, like I like the concept, but a lot of the execution is pretty poor, and it basically does well because at the end of the day, it's still from software combat for the most part. You still have like bosses that have been fleshed out like over, you know, a few decades, right? Because like they're recycling bosses that were previously made. These were good bosses, you know? Like even if like the most of the enemies that you fight in that game were not made in the context of Nightreign. They were made in the context of other great From Software games. And so a lot of that, it just carries the load. Like From Software combat is just superior to all these other games. It feels much like a prototype for something else. Yeah, I agree with you. That's a very good point. Yo, Reef, thank you so much for the resub for 30, bro. Thanks a lot, man. Guys, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Let's show the stats while we're at it. Alright, I'm back. Let me read some Nightreign comments real quick. Ali said something. Love Nightreign, but can't tell why people don't. Because when I play it alone, it bores me to tears. Need to play with someone that you really get along with. I actually have like somewhat of the same experience. Like I actually tried like playing Nightreign solo. I played 3 games. And, you know, I won all 3 of them, so it's not because, you know, it was, like, hard or anything, or... You know, it wasn't because of any of that. It just felt really boring by myself. I didn't, like, enjoy it. So it was really, like, the party with friends factor that made me enjoy it, I think. So I agree with you. I got a good 350 hours of Nightreign and made some friends playing, so I'm extremely content with it. Hope they learn some good lessons from it. Yeah, fully agree with you, Clevy. I don't want, like, FromSoft to necessarily, like, go away from Nightreign. Like, in fact, like, I'd be really happy if they fleshed out the concept and, you know, came out with another game like Nightreign where there's a little more resources that's poured into the development of the game. Like, I would really enjoy that. You know, like, if we had, like, actual procedural maps that are different every single runs, you know? Like, I think for that sort of concept, you need procedural generation to be really at the core of every mechanics, you know? Like, you need to have the weapons, like, have effects that are procedurally generated, like, you know, magic effects. Everything needs to be procedural. The placement, the buildings, and it's not like... Obviously, it's an endeavor. It's developing a game, but if you just reuse assets and reuse assets, it's going to get old very quickly, I think. That's how I see it. Not impossible. You know, it's been done before. We got another bad spawn. It's fun to optimize your runs, but the map gets stales quickly, yeah. I think you need some elements of surprise to keep it fresh. That's just my opinion, though. Plant, I swear to God, man. The rank mode made the game for you? Really, Clever? That's interesting. I never tried it. Limited resources? Yeah, we say limited resources because ultimately Nightreign had a limited... like, it did not have the same resources that, let's say, Elden Ring had. Like, there was only a small team working on Nightreign, and they couldn't just afford, like, to have, like, everyone that's worked on Elden Ring, like, work on Nightreign. It was basically, like, an indie It was really an indie project within, you know, a AAA team. Host is above us somewhere. Still need to respawn. Landmass, I think your lack of intelligence is showing here. Like, you know, you're complaining about people complaining, but no one's complaining. We're just... we basically said that we liked Nightreign and liked the concept. We wanted more. It was just not enough. Like, your comment kind of shows your low IQ. Oh shit, it's Kondu. We lost. Dude, this guy's tanky. I'm sorry, Kondu. I basically killed you. Like, unironically, I actually tried to save you, and, like, to be honest, it's completely on me. Like, I tried to save you and played, like, terribly and only hit you. But to my defense, I thought you'd roll out. Like, I thought I would, like, attack the host and force, like, both of you to roll, but you didn't roll. But it was my fault. Secretly ganking? No, I'm secretly giving a payback to Kondu for playing for the gankers the last time we co-invaded. So it's a payback. I've never killed Koz before at Chiriko. It never happened. You know, Landmass, the irony of someone who's low IQ is someone who's the only person complaining about people complaining when he's the only one complaining. That's what low IQ is. That's why you're not very intelligent. You bet it's someone from YouTube? Hey, yep, it is. Nightreign and Duskblood make you wonder if the next Souls game will have starting classes. I hope not. I really don't. I don't like that. You know, a lot of games nowadays, instead of letting you create and customize your character, I feel like there's this movement where games just try to just make like pre-made characters and pre-made classes. I definitely don't like that as much. You hear that purchasing a YouTube membership boosts your IQ? You know what's crazy? It's like this person was very angry. And, you know, it's so weird. Like, this person was very angry and, like, complaining about stuff that no one was talking about. Like, everyone in chat, like, I've not, like, seen a single person complain about Nightreign. And yet, like, this person was very angry at, you know, at how, I don't know at what they were angry. God damn it. Isn't there, like, a way to go down? Felt like I saw some tombstones to go down, but I figure if we take too long, like, you're gonna start multiplying down there. Let's try to respawn. It's not complaints, it's just critiques. I don't even know if I would call it critiques. Like everyone has been sharing their experience. Like it's mostly like it's not even like feedback or critique. Where everyone's saying that they're eager for the next one, and you know, had some good things, but not the best game ever. That's it. I don't know. I don't know what's so bad about that. uh. Yeah, exactly. A weird bones ish. But you know, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that a lot of people, you know, they come in here and they have a preconceived emotion, notion, preconceived thoughts, preconceived like value of a person. You know, like it doesn't matter what happens, they're gonna be either negative from the get-go, or they're gonna like ignore everything and only focus on something specific. And you know, it happens everywhere. For myself, though, I did enjoy poking the bear a little bit. You know, like one thing that I do that a lot of it gets me in trouble is you know, when people are like that, I just make them feel stupid. And it's not the thing to do. You don't want to do that, but I can't help it. Chat enjoys seeing you poke low IQ randoms. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Yo, Medios, thanks for the bits, man. It's just being young. A lot of young people get adversarial when you don't agree with them 100%, which is why they glaze over things they like. It's always either perfect or... I mean, that's a very good comment, Juan. That's a very good comment. I agree with you. You're absolutely right. I think that's a modern problem. We don't invade here, though. I think your monthly 3-week break for this game has lifted... Wait. Reread that. I think my monthly 3-week break for this game has lifted. I actually kind of want to play PvP today for some reason. Okay. Well, Cleve, good luck with that. Yeah, absolutely, Callie. That's true. Although I will say that I think you get. I think the, you know, I'm not like that knowledgeable about algorithms, but from what I understand, I think a lot of algorithms, depending on the platform, they show you a lot of things where you engage with, and so if you're adversarial a lot and you engage negatively with adversarial topic, they're going to keep feeding you that because that's what you engage with. If you only engage in echo chamber stuff, they're going to feed you that, only the echo chamber stuff. They're basically feeding you what you engage with. And I've noticed that, like I'll notice a name of like a, a random YouTube commenter that, like says some stupid shit and like some negative stuff, and then they do it another vid, and then another vid, and then you look at their comment history and it's all that. And then you see that same person on like Steel's channel and it's the same thing, all negative. And it's like, at some point you're like, man, this person is really miserable. Like, they spent like a month's worth of time like just sitting on channels they don't like, telling other people about like, how much they don't like them and what they, it's just, it's sad. It really is sad. Like, I don't know about you guys, I would not do this. Like, I'd never waste my time doing that. So it just, as much as it pains me to say, like when I insult this person, for instance, which I don't know, I have no idea who they are, and I tell them that they're low IQ, first of all, they shouldn't really care about that because I don't know them. Like, we're talking about like one interaction. So if you're smart, you're just gonna move on because you're getting insulted by someone who knows nothing about you. But seriously though, the fact that a lot of these people spend that much time on things that they don't like and they hate even, that definitely shows, a low IQ behavior, that's for sure. That is for sure. Must be so mentally exhausting to constantly be a hateful person. Yeah, and they want to project that, on other people's as well. Like, for instance, the last commenter, like what he was saying was, he was complaining that everyone was complaining about Nightreign, where it was basically a projection, because at the end of the day, like, no one was angry. No one complained about anything Nightreign related. Like, it was pretty much a neutral discussion, like as neutral as it gets. Some positives, some negatives, but it was not really that positive or that negative. It was just everyone sharing their experience. And so when you look at it this way, it's like this person was, basically in their own head. Like, not being aware of what was going on. And getting triggered by everything, but like almost imagining things. And it's very ironic because at the end of the day, like, the comment was against complaining, whereas they were the only person complaining. It's just that a lot of Redditors like to put that label on me because I advocated for a lot of balance changes when the game was early on. Balance changes that definitely helped the game. Like, obviously I'm not responsible for every change, but not every change was good either. But when it comes to stuff like BHS, which I complained about BHS a lot back when it was completely broken, I will stand on my ground on that. I keep saying the same thing, whether it's Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring. Like, you need to complain about stuff that's problematic, because otherwise you're not going to get any fixes. But when the fixes stop, there's no point complaining about anything afterward. Like, I see so many people like on YouTube saying like, oh, like, he's more chill now, like he's way more relaxed, he's having fun, all that stuff. I'm actually having less fun now than I did like early on in the game because everything still felt fresh. But people get that impression because they don't understand that you need to critique and complain about things that are problematic in the game if you care about the game, if you want it to be fixed. Unlike, what P would like you to believe, or Dashing, or all these people that never do anything even though they would have the power to change things. Like, the tickets and all that stuff, it only goes so far. There's a reason why the person who found the RCE exploit in Dark Souls 3, which is a critical issue that lets a hacker or an attacker like basically inject code into your computer by using the game as a proxy. Basically, it was a major security vulnerability. This person had been messaging FromSoft and Bandai Namco for 6 months, and they never did anything. And you know when FromSoft actually did something? They took Dark Souls 3 offline and they actually addressed this problem. When this issue was brought to the forefront eventually, when Grim got attacked live on stream, and it made its way to IGN, and IGN reported on it, and guess what happened afterward? The online for Dark Souls 3 shut down on PC momentarily for like a few, I forgot if it was a few days or what. And then they actually fixed the issue. So, I mean, I know for you guys, like, I don't need to break it down to you guys so that you understand, but like, a lot of people don't seem to grasp that that's not how video games work. That is how the world works. You know, we are designed that way. This is why babies cry. A baby crying, the cry of a baby, nature designed the cry of a baby so that it's so annoying that the parent cannot ignore it. Although I'll say, like, some parents can actually ignore it, surprisingly enough. You know, like, I've seen some horror stories of fucking babies and shit, but that's completely besides the point. But the point is, you know, nature is designed in a way so that the ones who complain, the ones who make noise, these are the ones that you pay attention to. And it's the same thing in every sphere of life. And so it's going to be the same thing for video games. If you complain about something, if you make noise about something, if you push an idea and it's on the forefront, it's going to get addressed, or it's going to get, it's going to get the attention. And that's when From Software are going to force to make a move at some point. If everyone complained about VHS like it happened, then they're going to be forced to change it. That's just the nature of things. Like, there's no, like, oh, you should do this, like, under the rug, like, stop complaining about it because, like, you get offended about these complaints or whatever. That is not how the world works. I'm sorry to say, but the world works in a way that people who complain, the Karen, no matter if you hate it or not, they get what they want because they complain a lot. People don't want to have to deal with people complaining. And so when you want something, understand that you can use that to your advantage. Now, if you think that it's dishonorable, if you're not that type of person, well, more power to you, but just make sure that you're still able to maneuver in life, and get what you want in another way, right? Like, when it comes to how you approach, like, every situation, I think there's a discussion to, like, how you should approach, like, different situations. I'm not saying that complaining is always the solution. It's really not. But the reality is, people who complain are going to get that attention, whether you like it or not. It's just the way it is. And so, to go back to our main topic, again, Elden Ring. When the game came out, we complained a lot about balance issues. Unfortunately, all the suggestions that we made were not necessarily implemented, but some of them did. And a lot of that complaining made it so that, we don't have to deal with infinite iframes VHS nowadays for those who actually still enjoy playing this game. That's a positive. A lot of positive things stemmed from the quote-unquote negativity. Because at the end of the day, like, if you're only positive and, you only look and pay attention to the good things, maybe you're going to have a more positive experience on the short term, but long term, maybe you're going to get jaded by all the broken stuff and you're not going to stay around for as long. And sometimes this perspective of, like, stop complaining, most of the time it stems from people that are not really planning to stay on the ride for the long term, right? Like, someone who's, like, let's say a content creator who's, like, really only staying for the key moments. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, like, more power to them. But maybe they don't really care about the game being perfectly balanced. They don't care about the PvP, They don't think the game is ever going to have any traction. It's never going to be evil. Whatever. They don't really care all that much. And so they're pushing for their idea, which is, no less good or bad than mine. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Like, you have people that don't care as much about the game. They only want to have a good time while they're here to play it. We're sitting here... we're here for the long term, we're here for the full ride, and we want the best for the long term of the game. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. You specifically dial in for the art of being a Karen portion. Oh man, Jacob, thank you so much for the bits, dude. And Chirico, thanks for the resub for 48, bro. Oh man. Almond Gold probably doesn't care about Bloodhound Step having infinite iframes. Yeah, exactly. Like stuff like that. Like, this is above their head, you know? Oh, we got the baby jump. What if we do running L1? There you go. What's the running L1? Interesting. I never use it, so I don't even know what it is. Are we the bad guys? Yes. Yes, we are. And I think where a lot of discourse also, like, you know, if we had to keep the discussion going, I think where a lot of the discourse comes from is the argument that the PvP crowd is a minority, right? And that the majority, the PvEers, they don't want this change, therefore the change should not happen. You know what I mean? I think that's where most of the discourse comes from. But, you know, to that, I would say that I don't think it's the... I think, again, you know, like, you pay attention to the minority of PvEers who complain about PvPers complaining about PvP. You know what I mean? So you hear about the people complaining, but the vast majority of people, they're not even aware of anything that's going on. Like, they don't even read the patch notes. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, I do think that when we ask for a change... I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but when I say that X or Y is broken, usually... if it's broken in PvP, there's a good chance that it might not be great for PvE either, and it was definitely the case for BHS. Like, as much as PvEers like to cope or whatever, like, the game, it's very clear how the game is designed. Like, they have a very fundamental set of mechanics in place, and these mechanics are true in PvE, they're true in PvP, the whole timing, spacing. And when you have things that counteract these fundamentals, this is where the game has a problem. When these fundamentals are disregarded for something that becomes broken. So then it makes sense to complain about these things if you understand the game, because they are to the detriment of everyone's experience, even those who don't necessarily understand it. You know, when they get, like, very often I'll say that, you know, you might have someone who complains about someone complaining about a change. And, you know, it's fine or whatever. Maybe they don't understand why. Maybe they're not very good at the game. It's fine and all. But if they ever stick around the game for whatever reason, and they improve at the game, they become better at it, they'll eventually find themselves agreeing with a lot of these changes as they start to grasp, like, more of the mechanics and understand more of what's going on in the game. Because ultimately, a lot of these changes that we're advocating, they're blanket changes that are agreed upon by any, like, experienced players, really. Like, anyone that has a clue of how to play the game, like, find themselves, like, agreeing with each other. Like, when I, like, you know, when I talk to Steel, when I talk to even Chase, when I talk to Lost, you know, when I talk to, like, you know, like, Luber, like, you can name anyone, Marco. It's like, back then, if we were to talk about BHS, like, none of these people thought that BHS was in a good place. Like, you can name an infinite amount of them. And why is that? Well, these were all experienced players, experienced enough to understand that, you know, this was not right. Therefore, you know, it would be better if this was changed. And even then, you had people that were against the fact that a lot of us were advocating for that change, even though we all agreed that this was the thing to do. Hello there, been watching your content since I started playing DS3 a couple of years ago. Just wanted to stop by and listen. Great job, thank you. Learned a lot from your vids. Thanks, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're not finding a lot of activity right now, unfortunately, so it's just same old same, you know. We're just talking about topics on hand. Like, people earlier started talking about Nightreign, so everyone started giving their opinion about Nightreign, and then someone got upset at that earlier, and then it started a discussion from there. The MMORPG crowd has serious PvEers who care about balance, not caring a thing is casuals mostly. I absolutely agree with you. I think, personally speaking, I really dislike PvE games that are not balanced. Personally speaking, I'm not the majority. Like, you know, like a good example for that, I'm playing Skyrim right now on survival mode, permadeath, legendary, and I had to make like a few tweaks because the game was clearly like not designed to be played hardcore. And I'm never gonna pretend that the majority of people would enjoy playing the game that way. That would be completely ridiculous to claim that. But when I like look up online, let's say like little bits and pieces of information about Skyrim, you know, maybe stuff that I'm looking for that I don't know about, very often I find comments, vids about like glitches and completely game-breaking glitches, and how a lot of people actually enjoy like using the, like in Skyrim it's the restoration glitch, basically like using some sort of exploit. You can make your gear basically have like infinite values, and you can break like the game like in basically enchanting one piece of gear with like any enchantment. Like you can have like 0 shout cooldown, you can become immortal with like infinite health, you know, like you name it. You can basically do anything with that. And there's actually a large portion of players that seem, at least, you know, on the outskirts, they seem to be having fun with that game-breaking glitch. And so, like, clearly these people are not looking for any balance or any challenge whatsoever. One of the main upset I've seen at release in Elden Ring was people hating on PvP changes affecting the PvE because their amazing builds were affected. Yeah, absolutely, Steel. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, for sure. Dragon's Dogma is a good example of an unbalanced game. It's still fun, but you play two-handers, you are essentially playing the least powerful build by considerate margin. Yeah, see, like, I don't enjoy that. I like, even if a game doesn't have PvE, I think it should at least make an effort to at least, like, balance things out. Like, this is what I like about FromSoft PvE. So let's go back on track here. When it comes to From Software PvE, and, like, you know, I'm, like, by default, this proves me right, because at the end of the day, Elden Ring is so popular compared to these other RPGs. Like, why is that? Well, you could name a bunch of reasons why you think that From Software and Elden Ring is so popular now, more than ever. You could name, like, an infinite amount of things if you'd like. You know, like we heard last time, like someone that says that, you know, Elden Ring had more story depth than Red Dead Redemption, and that it was more nuanced and intricate, you know, whatever. You can claim whatever you want, but I'll say one thing. The combat for From Software game is a lot more balanced, generally speaking, than if you look at like a Dragon's Dogma, you know, a Skyrim, or a lot of these other RPGs. Like, FromSoft does make a purposeful intention of not, like, letting the player, like, cheese bosses, like, absolutely, like, 100%. Like, FromSoft is going to patch a glitch that basically one-shots a boss. They're going to patch it. They're not going to let you, like, get away with it. Like, they don't want people cheesing their bosses because they believe that the fun in their games is by learning the fundamentals and outplaying the boss. Now, obviously, there's different layers to that. Like FromSoft does implement easy mode mechanics to like ease people that maybe have butterfingers, they don't play video games as much, and all that sort of stuff. You know, that's why they introduced the mimic tier. That's why co-op is the way it is. You know, you can trivialize bosses with the mimic tier in co-op. I think that's fine because it's basically like a way to disguise easy mode that players who play the game understand. But at the end of the day, like, I do think that a lot of people enjoy Elden Ring so much. Like, a lot of casuals that got introduced to the genre enjoy it so much because for them, it was their first time where a game actually, like, doesn't hand it to them, like, the free win against the bosses and the enemies. Like, they still had to learn something, and they still had to think a little bit. Because when they played the Assassin's Creed or the, you know, whatever, like, RPG you can think of, they could just make their build that did, like, everything for them. Like, to a crazy extent to where they didn't really have to have, like, any thought process. They didn't have to have any reflexes, whatever. Like, FromSoft still forces them to think about what they're doing. Like, you can't just mash everything and be successful. And so, even though these people, these casuals, for the first time, they believe that they like that power fantasy. They believe that they like that Skyrim restoration glitch where it just cheesed the entire game for them. They believe that they enjoyed that, but when they touched Elden Ring, they were like, oh my god. Wow, this combat is great. I love this. And so, my point is, a lot of people that like the quote-unquote power fantasy, I believe that these people don't know they would like a properly balanced game and a properly rewarding game more. Hence, my point is, Elden Ring is really one of the first to do this, like, properly, PvE-wise. We're talking about PvE here. Like, I believe that one of the reasons why Elden Ring is popular is that it's one of the only RPG in this sort of realm. Like, we're not talking about tabletops or anything like that, or turn-based, but, you know, real action RPG in this day and age that actually does respect the player's intelligence and doesn't hand everything to them. You know, they have some mechanics that definitely give more of a chance to people who are not as good and as experienced. But for the most part, they do make a thoughtful, deliberate decision to not hand it to people. They want people to fight their bosses and earn their win. And people enjoy it. Insane spawn. It doesn't matter if FromSoft were like, let them patch it 1 million times, people are always gonna find holes to cheese PvE. It depends on what you mean by cheesing, because unbalanced, like, if you mean like when you watch like a speedrunner like do like half a moon around the boss and, like, you know, and like cheese a boss by like positioning themselves at the right angle and whatever. If that's what you call cheese, well, of course, but that's basically what the skill is for PvE, though. Like, I wouldn't really call that cheese. If you mean like standing on the ledge and like just spamming range attack at the boss without the boss like being able to do anything, no, FromSoftware actually does prevent a lot of that. So that's false. Like, there's not... You know, like, you can say what you want, but like, take a lot of these bosses from the DLC. Like, when can you actually like cheese a boss like completely, and what do you do to cheese it? Are you like max level spamming a spell? Like, is that your definition of cheesing? Are you saying like a co-op partner? What do you mean by cheesing? finish this first. There you go. Alright, Boogie. Okay, so you say there's like Radon cheese and those are actually cheese. Okay, so what are the cheese and how many bosses do you have a cheese like that? Is it one boss? Because if you only find like one boss that you have a cheese for, that's not a good argument. You find two bosses in a game that has, like, how many bosses is there in this game? That's not a good argument either. I understand if what you're trying to say is, you know, there's bound to be glitches here and there. If the patching is fairly limited, I'll say yes, but I think you guys overestimate like glitches, like glitches don't multiply. Like, people find new glitches, but there's not an infinite amount of them. Like, at some point, you do actually fix everything. Like, actually. Not many bosses can be cheese. The last boss in the DLC can be cheese, is all I'm saying. Okay. I think a lot of the cheese enjoyers are children, too. I don't know about that. No idea. But okay, so what I'm saying is, FromSoft makes a deliberate effort to patch their game as much as possible and to fix it as much as possible. Now, are they perfect? I mean, you're not going to tell me they're perfect. I'll be the first one to say that they're not. But they do make an effort to, you know, make the experience as streamlined and as well executed as they can make it. Do they actually pay attention to everything that's said too? Like, I would say no. Like, whether it's because of the language barrier that they're in Japan and we're not. Like, doesn't matter why, but I don't think all the information makes it to them. And also, from what we've seen, Miyazaki, like, really only plays the game he develops during development. And that's it. Like, he doesn't actually, like, spend time enjoying his own games. Like, he doesn't do that. And I would probably believe that a lot of the employees at FromSoft are pretty much the same. And so I don't think they're aware of all the issues, but when they do know about something that's broken, they do tend to fix it. Cheese will always exist? No, it won't. It won't. There's not an infinite amount of, you know, there's not an infinite amount of, I mean, if you, the thing is, like, if your definition of cheese is the next best thing, because that's basically it, right? If, like, you know, because your definition is way too open, like, you know, exploit in a way to win that makes the boss, like, easy, like spells, perfume, thorns, or whatever, like that's such a vague fucking definition. Because, like, if you nerf, like, one thing a little bit, then you're gonna say that the next thing is cheesing. And then you're gonna, if that's nerfed, then you're gonna say that the next thing is cheesing. And so, like, your goalpost is gonna move. That's why you're saying that. But in the grand scheme of things, the bosses in this game, you know, like, I could sit here, you could stream this game, I could watch you go through the game, and then you can watch me go through the game, and you're gonna see both of us fight the bosses. And you know, you can tell me to attempt to cheese all these bosses, and I'll tell you to attempt to cheese them. You're not gonna succeed, dude. Like, unless you know every boss by heart, like these speedrunners, you're not gonna quote-unquote cheese your way to all these bosses, like, flawlessly. This is not a game that you can just quote-unquote cheese and make it meaningless. Whereas, on the other hand, I'm doing this with Skyrim, with no preparation, nothing. I'm just playing through the game, and I can actually attempt a deathless run by quote-unquote cheesing my way through the game, as you'd say, without really having like any sort of investment of learning anything specific about the game, other than having it played a few times, just like I did with Elden Ring, you know? Like, I played Elden Ring a few times already, yet I'm not gonna be able to cheese my way through this game like flawlessly, like what you guys are claiming. Cheese equal low effort, almost none for huge profit. That's what I see as cheese. Best example, Draconic Tree Sentinel with Poison Mist. Yes. When in Dark Souls 2, like, you can... Dark Souls 2 also, like, the first boss... I forgot fucking what's his name is. But you can basically make the boss, like, fall off in the water. I think I would consider that a cheese, right? Now, even in the context of Dark Souls 2, can you do that with every boss? No, you can't. Many people are so bad at games these days that they think dying 10 plus times against every boss is intended. When someone first tries bosses, simply by understanding how to play, build, tools, etc. One sec, that's a very good comment, but we got the first invasion in a while. I'm gonna reread after that. What the hell? That was weird. What the fuck? Dude, they're hitting me from a mile away, too. Go. Alright. Alright, let me reread that. That was a good comment. Alright. Many people are so bad at these games that they think dying 10 plus times against every boss is intended. When someone first tries a boss, simply by understanding how to play, build tools, etc., they are cheesing the boss, even if it isn't brain dead. Just the fact that someone has an easy time against something that was hard for them, it means cheese. I don't know. I don't know if this is how they view it. But I feel like, to me, like, when people say you can cheese every boss or you're always going to find ways to cheese every boss, no, you can't. You can't cheese every boss. Like, go ahead, like, try. If you cannot cheese that boss, then why is it a cheese? Why is it that only the really good speedrunner can quote-unquote cheese it, right? Maybe that's what you're trying to say. Like, if this guy starts playing the game, he's not going to be able to cheese every boss and have, like, this flawless run. Bro, what are you talking about? Once the cheese is patched, here comes another opening in less than 24 hours. You're speaking like you just picked up Souls games today. Bro, that's false. Like, I completely disagree with you. Like, what are you talking about? When something is fixed, like, it is false that something comes up, like you're saying. It's just, by definition, like, you are mathematically wrong because, you know, unlike the real world, like, there's not an infinite amount of possibilities in these games. Like, you're playing a video games with a set amount of possibilities. And so, when something gets patched, sometimes there are other ways around it. Now, if these other ways get patched, you're not always going to get something new that comes out if they keep patching it. It's just that your standards, you've been led to believe that there are, because your standards are so low because developers are generally so bad. And maybe that's what you're saying, that developers are so bad that, you know, like, you never really expect them to patch it to the point where there's nothing that's problematic anymore. That's why you're saying there's always going to be something. But by definition, this is false. If you keep patching and patching, you're going to reach that point where there's not really much issues anymore. And, you know, a lot of competitive games, you know, that have the full attention of their devs, they actually do reach that point. Like, believe it or not, a lot of games are like that. Now, if you're saying that From Software doesn't have it in them, I would also disagree. Like, when I played Armored Core Verdict Day, was the game completely glitch-free? No, there was some glitches. They got fixed. There was some quote-unquote cheese, like, a lot of time in high-level ranked match, you know, we're talking like matches for the top of the leaderboard, you could have like a guy like basically sit on the edge of the map so that they could not get flanked with like the highest HP tank, highest damaging tank possible. Was it a bulletproof strategy? No, like I've beaten people doing that, you know, just by doing like pop shots and just rushing them and pile driving them. Like, it doesn't matter, like, when it comes to PvP, like, very often, there are counter strats even to the cheese, if you're skilled enough. For PvE, it's the same thing. Like, FromSoft did make games in the past where it was not, like, all cheese. Like, as far as I know, Verdict Day didn't have, like, a bunch of cheese like what you're saying. Maybe Elden Ring is more complex, has more possibilities, is harder to iron out. That I would agree with you if that's what you mean. And maybe you think it's unrealistic in, let's say, a 2-year time frame to patch everything. Okay, I think you'd have a good argument there, but you can't say that there will always be glitches and cheeses. That's not true. If they address it, you know, there's not an infinite amount of them. They don't just randomly pop up. JeeNiNe is correct. This is coming from a Destiny player. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm correct. Like, even if this person doesn't understand it, I know that it's just maths, really, because you're playing you're playing a video game with limited possibilities. So, by definition, like, if you understand like the concept, it's not really an argument. Like, this is basically a math problem. There's really one answer here. The real argument is whether it's realistic or not. I do believe that it is. Like, people really like to over-inflate or overestimate like the amount of exploits that there is like in this game. They really do. Like, there's been like, you know, like they don't want to admit it that they wouldn't really be able to go through the game flawlessly. You know, they're not going to be able to cheese every boss and cheese their way to victory. Like, they'd need to be like one of these very experienced speedrunners, you know, and a lot of speedrunners have even like macros to do their exploits. You know what I mean? Yes, what Luke said is accurate. There's not an infinite amount of exploits. Labs are just they're just lazy and they patch slow. I don't know if they're lazy or not, but resources are limited and usually the patching is slow. You defeated Radon in your first Shadow of the Erdtree playthrough by trading. Many people would say that's cheesing simply because you didn't suffer 6+ hours in the end just by stacking defense and damage, having good builds, etc. Playing as intended. But for many, that's still cheesing because you didn't have to learn the boss patterns. Heavily disagree. Beating the boss by repetition like a monkey isn't impressive other than the stubbornness needed to do so. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe people would consider Endure boss, or I mean, even I would consider, like, you know, this it's definitely a pretty cheesy way to it's definitely a pretty cheesy way to beat a boss. But that's not, even if it's quote-unquote cheesy, it's still not for free, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a good point, Montage. That's a good point. But for sure, there's definitely ways to approach like the game in general that are a lot easier than others. Like for instance, shield poking and ender spamming. These can definitely forego like important mechanics of the game. Oh, he just went in. I was setting up to redon them if needed. Some people are dumb. Yeah, I mean, not everyone needs to understand. It's alright. Do you mean rage baiting? My last comment destroyed all his argument. Bro, I mean, if you're not gonna be nice, I'm not gonna be nice to you. Like, you're clearly not very intelligent. Let's be real here. Like, I was trying to keep it civil, but... Alright, let's be real here. Like, you're just not very smart. It's not even a question of games. Like, you're talking about maths. You're playing something with limited possibilities, so by definition, you know, if you keep removing if you keep removing units, it's just the way it is. Sorry to break it to you. What is your Reddit karma? Yeah, that's the real question. What is your Reddit karma? This ties back to policing how other people play video games. It doesn't make sense and never will. I don't know about that, Montage, because we're talking about, like, you know, a lot of like, a lot of, let's say, ignorant people, casuals, very often, like, you know, casual PvEers, they'll complain when experienced players ask for a fix that would actually make the game better for everyone, whether they realize it or not. You know, whether the less experienced player realized that they would like the game more in a way that the good player is like giving feedback to the dev. They'll complain about that feedback just because they don't want the devs to touch anything because they like the way the game is right now. So I think that policing argument is counterintuitive to that. Because then you're never gonna have the desire to improve the game if you never accept any sort of feedback. You're basically stuck never improving anything. And same thing for the premise of, you know, like, there's always gonna be like cheese or exploits. You know, so it's pointless to patch because there's always gonna be something else. I think this is a very deaf way to look at things. It's denying the concept of improvement. Oh wow, that connection. Holy shit. Oh, 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 oh. Unexperienced players' opinion should always be taken with a huge grain of salt. The problem is, the problem with that statement is, Nightreign, is that developers very often are part of these unexperienced players. Like, very often the creators themselves are not very experienced with the mechanics they create. And so, they don't have a point of reference or an anchor for judgment of what is good and bad for their game, because they don't necessarily always understand what they're doing. And that's why, you know, with the competitive games and so on and so forth, they always refer to the, you know, the competitive players, the top players, in order to get proper feedback, because they understand, even though they understand that they don't understand the game as much as the top players, and so they ask the top players for feedback instead, and so they follow what the top players gives them for feedback. So a lot of devs at least understand that part. All right, let's keep on reading. I think there's a small difference in what we're both saying. The door should always be open for criticism and improving the game. This I agree with absolutely. But if the game devs aren't willing / can't fix something and players choose to use said things, it's a losing battle. Well, you said that it's never good policing. It's just policing leaves the door open for a lot of interpretation. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but it basically means that I shouldn't have to have a say on how you play. Therefore, you know, I shouldn't give feedback to FromSoft, because that's going to change the way you're going to have to play. Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And that is precisely what people are angry at when we asked the devs at the start of the game to patch BHS, because it was completely busted. A lot of people were like, you know, like, you're basically policing the way I don't want to have to play like your way. Like, I like my BHS broken like that. Like, who are you to ask the dev for that? I don't want that. That was basically a lot of the casuals' opinion. Does the balance fix impact PvE or not? If it's the case, they won't accept it. They usually don't participate willingly in PvP. It's just annoyance for them. A lot of PvEers will be happy if FromSoft remove invasions completely. We're talking about like stuff like BHS. Like, if I was someone who was as passionate about PvE as I was with PvP, you know, I would have had the same argument about BHS being broken. It's just from the lens of someone who plays PvE, right? Unless, you know, a lot of PvEers are not necessarily, you know, they're not necessarily looking for that balanced experience. Like I said, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of them look for that easy power fantasy with these, you know, they look for and they enjoy using these game-breaking glitches or cheese, these one-shots and whatever. Like, a lot of them do enjoy it, but again, going back to the same discussion we had earlier, very often these people don't necessarily realize that they would enjoy the game even more if they didn't like, if they were forced to learn how to play the game, basically. And that's my ultimate argument. Was that's the ultimate reason why Elden Ring was popular in the first place, as opposed to some of these other RPGs where the balance is like almost non-existent in these other RPGs. Like, people can just like coast through the game without much effort with the right setup. Like, you can say what you want about this game. Like, I can take any viewer that's watching right now, like, unless they are an experienced speedrunners with thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, they're not gonna coast through this game like deathless. It's not gonna happen. Why? Because the game is designed in a way that forces you to learn and to play the mechanics properly. It is how it is. That's as simple as that. The game is designed in a way where it forces you to learn how to play the game. And I believe that is probably one of the main reasons why Elden Ring stands out in this day and age as one of people's favorite game. And you hear that all the time, even though I disagree with that statement that Elden Ring is the greatest game of all time. Like, I heard that so many times. It annoys me, but the reason people mention that is that for them, it's their first time experiencing a game where their power fantasy is challenged. They have to think a little bit. They have to learn how to play a little bit. They have to use their reflexes a little bit. And they actually find it fun. It's the first time that a developer forced them to use these things because they were used to the games playing themselves, you know, just by learning a cheese or two. Even though you guys can claim there's as many cheese as you want in this game, at the end of the day, you cannot cheese, quote-unquote, cheese a game like Elden Ring like you can cheese a game like Skyrim or like Dragon's Dogma or like name whatever game RPG out there that's vastly popular. And my point is, whether people realize it or not, they actually enjoy that challenge aspect. They enjoy being mentally challenged in Elden Ring. And even if they realize it or not, their brain is tired of coasting through shit without having to think about anything that they're doing. Whether people realize it or not. People say I just want to chill, or I want this game PvE to stay broken. I want brain dead power fantasy. They're using the wrong game. That was never the direction From Software wanted. Again, Knight Rider, like, obviously not everyone is the same, but I'm gonna go back to Elden Ring. Elden Ring, it was a massive success, right? And Elden Ring is very often discussed as the best game of all time or one of the greatest game of all time. Why is that? You know, why is that? Well, in this generation of gaming, it's a standout because it doesn't handhold you necessarily as much as these other games out there. You have to learn how to play the game in order to go through it. Player feedback is a tricky topic. The vast majority of player feedback is useless because people don't actually have deep understanding of game systems. There's also the issues of only listening to the people who do actually know what's going on. Catering to niche audience also has its problem, but at least a little more informed. Well, I will definitely agree with you, Montage, that who you listen to is the crux of the question, for sure. Like, it's not about listening to feedback, it's about listening to the right feedback. Now, who has the right feedback? Again, problem is developers do not have the foresight and the understanding of their game to actually, like, take the bad and the not bad, but they mix up pretty much everything, and they don't really know what's good or bad until, like, you know, the mechanic has been, like, tested for a very long time. Like, my best example of that is always, like, when Steel and I were asked to, you know, to playtest Lord of the Fallen. You know, we gave them feedback on the roll distance. They were against it, saying that they were having, like, mixed feedbacks and people enjoyed the roll distance or whatever. And ultimately, they reduced it a little bit so that, you know, just to keep us happy, so to speak. They reduced it because my complaint to them was you cannot have a roll that is faster than sprinting. That makes no sense. And so they reduced it just slightly so that rolling is not faster than sprinting. And so the reason why you got a Lords of the Fallen at launch with a roll distance, a roll that is not faster than sprinting, I'll take the credit for that. But ultimately, it was still not enough, but that's what they settled on. Yet, down the line, you know, like patches and patches after that, years later, the people playing that game still complain about the roll distance being too large, and they eventually ended up reducing it. Now, I'm saying that because to Steel and I, that was so fucking obvious. That was as obvious as you could have. But for the devs, it was not. Oh wow, I was wondering for a second what that was. You never see that. And so my point is, unfortunately, the devs don't necessarily have that foresight of like who to listen to. But you're absolutely right that who you should listen to definitely does matter. And there's also this misconception that, let's say, I'm going to take myself as an example because I can't really speak for other people, but let's say you take my feedback. It would be false, or it would be a lack of understanding of my feedback to say that, oh, you're asking for X or Y feedback, it is detrimental to PvE, you're only thinking about PvP. That's false. That is not the way I approach things. I usually when I have discussions with other like top players, I usually am in disagreement only with stuff that's not like 100% positive for everyone, because I usually think of PvE as well. So going back to the same example, because we're on that discussion, going back to the BHS, broken BHS, the reason why I was hammering it, it's because you could cheese the entire game, not just the PvE with BHS, or sorry, PvP. You could cheese everything. So, you know, like fixing BHS was a net positive for every aspect of the game, PvE and PvP. And so it's not necessarily true to say that someone like me, let's say, gives feedback and is mostly a PvP player, that I wouldn't have a good idea of like what's good for PvE, or that my feedback would be detrimental to PvE. That is not true. Like the feedback that I give, I have enough of an understanding of these games to tell you that, you know, this is broken in this particular way. It's not healthy for the game. Either this doesn't really affect PvE, like for instance, if you fix desync on Wave of Piss, or if you fix the desync on like Sword of Damnation, like that has no impact on, you know, on PvE. So when you ask for fixes like that, or like reducing the iframes for BHS, yes, reducing iframes for BHS does affect PvE, but it affects PvE in a positive way, whether people realize it or not. It favors the fundamentals of the game. It forces people to learn the bosses and have that experience with the bosses like the devs actually intended. Because the devs didn't create like all these attack chains for bosses just for you to like do one dodge and nullify all this fucking work. Like, you know, use your brain, people. Like, these bosses and all this work is intended for you to use the main mechanics. FromSoft that gives you like plenty of ways to approach it, but ultimately the fundamental of the game stay the same. And so you have to understand as a developer, or you know, or as a player who gives feedback, that you want the mechanics to promote the fundamentals of the game, what the game is based on. No matter what these fundamentals are, it's supposed to go toward that idea. Any interest in playing Arc Raiders? Not really, no. I haven't really been much into shooters anymore for a long time. Also, Kondu, thanks for the gifted sub to Montage earlier. Really appreciate that. And here we go again. Like I hear the... Okay, there it is. Oh, it's this fucking place. I don't like this place. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna fight here. In the same vein that light roll breaks the game. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny about light roll is a lot of people, like, you know, you always hear this argument of like people, they don't want light roll taken away from them because, you know, they enjoy their light character, you know, with light armor, whatever, and they don't want it to be useless. What's funny about all of that is light roll, when the game came out, was actually in a good place. They buffed it like too much. They buffed it too much, and it basically got reverted back to a point where it was broken. And so, like, basically FromSoft like over buffed light roll, and we're forced to like retune it down afterward. They buffed it to the points where it could outrun sprinting, and then they nerfed it slightly. Yeah, pretty much. Yep. When are we gonna get these hardcore Bethesda stream montage? Like, one thing that I'm doing right now is like, so I mean, I think you were there the last time when I said that. I completed my Fallout 4 permadeath survival mode run, and I had a blast with it. Really enjoyed it, and now I'm doing it for Skyrim. One thing that I realized is playing Elden Ring like that, regularly on stream or whatever. It's still a stream, right? Like, I'm not, like, playing the game for myself, so to speak. And what I really enjoyed about these runs is that I genuinely enjoy Fallout and, like, Skyrim and Bethesda games. And so, playing these games for myself, like, just for myself, no stream, nothing, it made me, like, sort of, like, find my love back for gaming. That, Elden Ring was not really cutting it. And so, I think I'll just keep doing it just for myself, just because that I'm enjoying myself. Like, it's just for my own fun, basically. At some point, I'm sure, like, when the next Bethesda game comes along, like, I'm gonna go back to streaming these games, but for now I'm having a very fun time just doing it at my own leisure, at my own pace. Oh my god. What the fuck? Okay, someone's lagging. I think the katana guy's lagging. I'm not sure which one is lagging anymore, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure which one is lagging. Hard to tell. Okay, we're gonna change strat here because their connection is just so inconsistent. I can't even tell which one is the laggy one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to something with hype armor. That's a little more damaging. Oh, this guy was the laggy one. Okay, there you go. Oh, the host too, actually. They were all kind of latent. It was the Bloodflame Blade build-up proc. Yeah, but I took a hit too, like, late during that invasion, and they were pretty latent too. What build did you use for the Fallout run, out of curiosity? Actually, after, because, I didn't get this the first try, since it's permadeath, I did die a few times, but ultimately what I decided to do was, Well, for all the runs, my focus was on the laser Gatling gun, because this is, in my opinion, like the best gun in that game. So my focus was always on laser Gatling gun, and so the best way to get it is to do the Brotherhood quest line like as quickly as possible. Same way with traveling. When you're playing survival mode, there's no fast travel, so joining the Brotherhood gives you access to the Vertibird fairly quickly. I will say the change that made this run possible was to focus on leveling up endurance to maximum from the get-go, as opposed to other stats. You know, usually I'd favor other stats, but on this one, I actually favored leveling endurance to max first. And for those wondering, endurance in Fallout 4, it determines your HP. It's basically the stats that dictates how much HP you're gonna have, and the more endurance you have, the more HP you gain per level. It's retroactive, so even if you level up endurance late, you're gonna have the same HP than if you level it up early. But one thing about these sort of runs with Fallout 4 in particular is the most dangerous parts of the run are actually earlier on. Like, you're most likely to die early on as opposed to later on. And so it's more important to prioritize HP and defense early as opposed to any other stats. So you're saying that leveling vigor is meta? Interesting. You know what's funny too, Montage? I'm finding the exact same thing in Skyrim. You know what's crazy? Well, you know, in Skyrim, like, if I were to ask you, like, what is in your opinion, is the best enchantment? Well, you're gonna say, well, you know, it's, with the restoration glitch, you can have infinite shout with, you know, but that's not an enchantment. Okay, well, with the restoration glitch, you can enchant a piece of gear with fortify health and have like 20 bazillion health and become immortal. I'll say, all right. So if you take away the restoration glitch, like, what is the best enchantment? Again, actually, it is fortify health. Surprisingly enough, like, fortify health, if you're using, let's say, the Skyrim unofficial patch, it caps your enchantment, and actually it doesn't cap your enchantment, it just simply removes the restoration loop glitch. And so your enchantment is ultimately capped. And basically, another thing that's to be noted is, like, if you were to attempt to make a permadeath run or like a high stakes run in Skyrim, the best way to go about it would basically to set yourself up to level up one spell very fast infinitely. So, like, for instance, Alteration in Skyrim is the easiest spell to level up, because you can, like, recast the... Either you can just hold telekinesis, like, and just, you know, level up forever with that, or you can just spam, like, Mage Light in, at a distance, and you're gonna level up very quickly as well. And so, like, these two things make it so Alteration is, like, the easiest spell to level up. And so, technically, if you were not gonna limit yourself to how many levels you were gonna get, the optimal strategy for a run like that would be to, like, level Alteration to Legendary, like, let's say 14, like, the equivalent of, like, you getting, like, 3000 HP, basically. And so, if you get, like, 3000 HP, like, all the rest of your build doesn't really matter, because you're just able to tank everything. And so, ultimately, you can trivialize the game by maxing out, like, leveling up over and over and over again. And so the way I'm playing Skyrim right now is I'm trying to take away, like, these easy cheese, so to speak. And so my restrictions are, I'm playing on survival mode, so no fast travel, playing on legendary difficulty, so, you know, damage is heavily lopsided, you can't just approach fights normally. I'm playing with the unofficial patch, so that, you know, like, crazy exploits like the restoration glitch are, you know, are patched. I'm also playing with unpaused menu, so that I can't just pause the game at a moment's notice to start drinking potion or eating everything in my inventory. Also, that would be too easy. So I'm taking away all these things, and I'm also removing the ability to get a skill to legendary, meaning that once a skill reaches 100, I can't just like reset the skill to legendary. I can respec using the DLC, that's fine, because your skill doesn't reset. You just get to reallocate your perk points. You know, that's fine, but can't make the skill like go to legendary because that lets you level up past 81, which is technically like the max if you 100 everything. And so in order to have a run be like as exploit proof as possible, you're never gonna like fix every exploit, but in order to have it as exploit proof as possible, these are the things that I believe work best in order to have like the best experience. And so that's the way I'm doing my run. Like I have all these things. Now, go back to the initial question, then what is the best enchantment? It's still Fortify Health, because ultimately Fortify Health, under these circumstances, it gives you 85 or 84 points of health for one enchantment. And leveling up by one level basically gives you 10 points in health. Because if you're playing Legendary, every time you level up, you have to put points into health. Otherwise, you're going to be too squishy and you risk getting one-shot. And so, for all these levels that you put into health, it's 10 points in health. And so, one enchantment with 84 gives you, you know, about 8 levels worth on your enchantment. And so, these 8 levels of worth, you can get them a total of 3 times, I believe. And get it on your chest, your ring, and your necklace. So you're talking about an equivalent of about 25 levels worth with these enchantments. And so 25 levels worth on a challenge like this is massive, especially considering that you're capped at 81. And so that lets you basically get to 100 plus in terms of HP stats. And so the best enchantment in Fallout is indeed HP. The best perks to get are all like defense related perks. And then for the same reason in Skyrim, it's also the same thing. If you're attempting this sort of run and you want survivability, you need to focus on defense and staying alive. And Fortify Health, again, is the best enchantment in Skyrim. And again, that's new for me. Like, I never really had played with Fortify Health before in any of my runs previously, because I always felt like it was not worth it. And quite frankly, it is not worth it if you level up your skills infinitely, because if you are at level 200 or 300, right, then the diminishing returns of health enchantment is going to start to like matter less and less. Because if you have like, let's say like 3000 HP, like what is 250 extra HP, right? Like it's not as relevant. Whereas if you only have 600 HP, what is 250 HP? Well, that's a lot. Like, you're getting a big boost in HP. Last time you played Skyrim, you didn't have your defense spell up. Enemies instantly executed you from full HP. So it matters a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I'm doing this run in Skyrim, the play is basically... And that's also a reason why I'm not streaming it. It's a lot of character building before like entering combat, meaning that you have to max out your poison resistance, you have to max out your magic resistance, and you have to max out your physical resistance. And so before engaging, if you want to have some success on that permanent run, because it is a permanent run, you can't afford to lose, you can't afford to die, otherwise the run is over. So if you want to do all these things and be more safe about it, the play is you max out everything that you can and you prepare your character in advance. And so that means, you know, getting your enchanting up if you want that poison resist. Not necessarily, but, you know, or sorry, alchemy up if you want that poison resist. Or your enchanting as well, that can work too. Or, you know, you can have, you can start with Breton, have a 25%, you know, magic resist to start with. But you also get, like, the Lord Stone, which is another 25%. So already there, you start the game with 50%. That's good. But you should always get the 15% extra that's free, like, that you get from an easy quest. So at the start of the game, you should always do that quest no matter what. And so these sort of things, like, you need to set up your character that way to maximize your success. What kind of weapon am I using? I'm actually, for this run, I'm using like a two-handed greatsword mainly. That is not optimal. That is not optimal. That is a, you know, for my own fun type decision. If I was to do it optimally, I mean, obviously the bow is an obvious one. Bow, but I think shield dagger would probably be like the more logical choice. Shield dagger is because the shield like gives you an other enchantment slot, like an extra one, and that's a big deal. We're gaming. Nice. I like this guy. Bolus abuser? Yeah. But like, if you were to pick the optimal setup, I think you'd have a shield dagger. The reason is the shield is simply better because it gives you extra enchantment slots, and enchantment slots are really like really big when you're doing a run like that, because having like 2 extra enchantments mean that you can either do a lot more damage, you can free up like a slot elsewhere. Like, let me give you an example. You can only do magic resistance enchantment on either your ring, your necklace, and I believe your shield. But if you take away, like, if you take into account that you want fortify health and everything because it's your most important enchantment to have as much HP as possible, so your ring, your necklace, and your chest is going to have fortify health, and so that only gives you like 1 enchantment left remaining for your ring and your necklace. And usually you'd want to have this be dedicated to either offense, meaning either your two-handed damage, your bow damage, your one-handed damage. Like, you want this to be dedicated to your actual damage, because you can get that number like without any exploit or anything. That number can be as high as like, you know, like 50 to 60% extra damage from like 1 enchantment on like one of these slots. So removing 1 slot, like if you have like fortify one-handed on ring and necklace, let's say you're looking at 100% extra damage, whereas if you only have 1 of them, you're looking at 50%. So that can be a big difference in damage. And so you really have to value these slots. And so you want to not have to have, like, let's say magic resist on your necklace and ring. You want to free them up. And so there comes the shield, which gives you that free slot, because on your shield you wouldn't really you wouldn't be able to put like a fortify one-handed damage on your shield, or two-handed damage. Like, you can't put that enchantment there, so you're not losing by putting resist magic there. So your slots are valuable, and the shield gives you an extra slot. What ray can you give for pickaxe when invading? I mean, I don't know. I haven't played enough with them, but like when we played with axes and the pickaxe, it was either like the pickaxe and the anchor are fairly similar. Like, the moveset is very similar. It's like pick your poison. Like, they're almost the same, really. Like, both of them, you get like good counter damage. If I am to play with axes, I much prefer power stance axes over two-handed. I think two-handed's kind of bad, but power stance is pretty good. Iskra shields, magic, defense plus 20 HP. So here's the deal. When you create your character, or when you pick your starting character, you know, like, everyone is always going to say, well, you know, the obvious choice is the Breton because you have 25% magic resist. It's actually not the most optimal. The most optimal is actually either, it's not Orc, like people will say it's Orc because the passive that the Orc has, it's the best passive. Like you basically have like half damage that you take for a short amount of time, but the best one is not Orc either. The best ones is actually like what people disregard, like the two classes that people disregard the most. It's fucking Redguard and Wood Elf. Those are actually the best classes, funnily enough. Because they both have the passive of poison resist, 50%. And when you level up Alchemy, you also get 50% poison resist. And so you can max out your poison resist with these classes from the get-go without any enchantment, which frees up the need for a... it frees up the need for an enchantment on your gear to have, like, resist poison on it. And so the reason why you want to have a magic resist enchantment over a poison resist is that the poison resist enchantment, you're not going to benefit from that number really being that high, because ultimately magic resist and resist poison, they both cap at 85%, and so you're pretty much guaranteed to have the perk, the alchemy perk. Like, you're going to need to have that perk that makes you resist like 50% poison. And so the enchantment that you're going to have on your gear, it doesn't really matter how much it is as long as it's over 35%. Whereas with magic resist, the higher your enchantment is, you might be able to free up like a lot from it. Like, for instance, if you don't need the Lordstone, which gives you 25% magic resist and 50 extra armor, like, if you don't need it because your magic enchantment is like 40%, because like if you stack like everything from the DLC and whatever, you can get it up to like pretty high. And basically, if you have that, then you have a freed like standing stone to use. Like, you're not stuck only using the Lordstone. So then you're left with choice between either the Lady Stone, which increases health regen and stam regen, and in survival mode, your health doesn't regen by itself. So if you're going to do a permadeath run, you need to have health regeneration. You need some form of health regen. So health regen takes up another one of these enchantment slots. So if you have the Lady Stone, you remove the need for a health regen enchantment slot. So you gain another like enchantment slot by using this stone. Or you can use the Atronach stone, which gives you 50% like spell absorb, which is a big deal. That's a pretty big one. And you can compensate from the lower like magicka regen by putting an enchantment on your helmet. On your helmet, usually the only thing that's used is either you put like a bow damage enchantment or a spell enchantment like Fortify, Alteration, Restoration, Destruction, whatever. And so ultimately, the slots that are most important, you free them up by having a Wood Guard, a Wood Elf or a Red Guard, a Wood Guard. So those are actually the two best classes. Is it true that 80% cap on each element? I think it's 80% physical, and I think it's 85% magic and 85% poison, the cap. So if you go above that, it's pointless. Although for physical, like there's actually like a few numbers. It's like there's an invisible number where if you have a helmet, your helmet counts as like 50, and then if you have an armor, there's an invisible, like just having a piece of armor actually counts toward the defense cap. Like the real like the defense cap for the numbers you see is going to be like 587 or something like that. 580. I forgot what the exact number is, but it's going to be like 580 whatever. Like that's the number you see, but the actual cap, like you said, is actually like 600 something. Because like having, I forgot what the numbers, like the exact numbers are, but like having a chest piece, a helmet, gauntlets, leggings, like all your slots basically count towards some invisible like armor. So like not having armor, you're gonna take way more damage than if you had armor, basically. That's for the physical. Dude, the game is actually so dead. Like, I've been mostly talking about Skyrim, like not even playing. You're doing so much homework. Dude, I'm having a blast with this Skyrim run. Like, I'm so into it. Yeah, basically, like for the elemental resistance, what you can do is like you can either decide to like cap your, you know, you go to magic resist and you don't fully like reach the 85%, but you could decide to have like resist fire, resist shock, and resist frost. Or you can have it like you can have like max resist magic as you can, all the way up to 85%. And you can max out like the fire resist, the shock resist, and the frost resist. But the problem with that is that like fortify health is going to give you like a better outcome in terms of your damage mitigated than the frost and the fire and the shock. And these things are actually pretty costly because you need to like enchant 3 pieces of or you need to enchant like 3 enchantment slots in order to have like all 3 of these effects. Unless, obviously, like, you swap gear on the fly. You know, you could technically do that. Like, you only have, like, 1 resist frost item, and that's also resist fire item that you can switch out, and you have, like, a resist shock, and you just swap it out depending on the enemy that you're up against. You could do that. But, in my opinion, the best approach is... Oh. In my opinion, the best approach is to simply focus on just magic, disregarding the rest. Or you can combine like spell absorption. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if you build your character like optimally, you have a shield, so you get like 2 more enchantment slots. You start with the wood guard, the fucking wood guard again. You start with the wood elf or the red guard. And then you're already set for your poison resist because you're gonna reach that alchemy threshold eventually to get that perk that gives you 50% resist. You already have 50% resist, so poison is not an issue anymore. So you don't need to worry about that. Then what? You know, now you have no magic resist, so you're probably going to need to enchant something with magic resist because you can only go so far with magic resist. Like, if you don't enchant anything and you don't have any raise bonus, you're going to get 30% magic resist from the alteration skill tree. And you're going to have 15% from the free quest, the Mara quest. That's 45%. So no matter which character you decide to pick, you're going to have 45% from the get-go. Now, 1 enchantment, you could technically, if you do the DLC and everything, you could probably get 40% and max out your magic resist with only 1 enchantment. So you could have like your shield with a fortify or resist magic. And that way you're gonna have your standing stone freed up as well. And so for your chest piece, you'd basically have like heal rate as an enchantment. You'd have fortify health as well. And then for your ring and your necklace, you'd have fortify whatever damage type you decide to go for, one-handed, two-handed bow, whatever. And then same thing for, you know, same thing for both, and with fortify health. And for the shield, for the third one, you could still, I think you can go fortify health as well, you know, max it out as much as possible. And so that way you'd have a character that's as powerful as it could be, without really any compromise, maximizing the amount of enchantment slots that you have on your build, basically. Breton supremacy don't need to do all that. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is more optimal than Breton. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like, Redguard and Wood Elf are actually more optimal than Breton. If you know, we're talking about the context of like not like abusing anything, right? Because technically you can pick any of these races and it's completely pointless. If you play vanilla game and you do restoration glitch, you become immortal, or like you don't put any of these restriction, you just boost like alteration and then you have like a bazillion HP. Like, we're still talking in the context of a non like abused game where you have some restrictions on yourself. Like, you have the unofficial patch so that restoration glitch is not a thing. You can't level up past 81, so you can't like legendary your skills in order to not abuse like the infinite health that you can have. You're always on Team Breton, even when you're playing the game casually. See, Montage, I'm picking Breton as well. Like, I'm saying that Redguard and Wood Elf are optimal, but I still pick Breton. But, you know, that doesn't remove the fact that every time someone is asked which is the best class, they always tell you Breton or fucking, or Orc. But it's actually false. The optimal one is actually Wood Elf and Redguard. If you understand the premise that in order to have, like, as much success as possible, you need to max out magic, you need to max out poison, and you need to max out physical. And the class that is best at doing that is going to be the class that lets you max out your poison without having to waste an enchantment on poison. Because again, the thing with, if you pick Breton, is that you're not going to be able to reach you're not going to be able to reach the cap with Breton and you know, and the what's it called, and the alteration and the free quest that they give you, because it's like it's going to be 45 plus 25 from the Breton, so you're stuck at 70. It's not going to reach that cap of 85, and so you're better off, like, because then you're going to be forced to use the standing stone to reach that cap, and so the standing stone slot is lost as well. Whereas you could have just, I mean, you can still decide to, you know, you can still decide to play at 70% magic resistance cap, in magic resistance, instead of reaching the cap. You can decide to do that. Like, you know, we're just talking for fun. Like, I'm not telling you guys how to play the game. But, like, technically, you could decide to just go at 70 and go for the spell absorption standing stone. Just stay at 70 and have like 50% spell absorbed instead. Like, you can absolutely do that, and it's not bad. But if you're doing permadeath on legendary, you want to put all the chances on your side, and so why have to compromise that? Whereas with the Woodguard, you'd be able to do that without having to compromise anything. You'd be able to have the Atronach stone, you'd be able to max out your poison resist, to max out your magic resist, to have all your slots that are available used for fortify health, and all your slots possible used for fortify whatever damage you want. Ethereal Crown, your beloved. Even Ethereal Crown, it depends on what you use, but Ethereal Crown might not necessarily be a bad, I mean, it's definitely not a bad pick, because having Lord Stone and Atronach Stone, or having Atronach Stone and Lady Stone, are both really good picks that are usually better than most enchantments you can put on your helmet. It depends on the character. Like, if your character uses a bow or uses magic, I think you'd still want to use your helmet for like base game enchantment, like, you know, a fortified destruction, fortified restoration, or fortified bow damage. You'd still want that. But if you're not using any of these, the crown's actually a very good pick, like you said. Jian has min-max Skyrim more than anyone else in history? Dude, I'm loving Skyrim. I should make some Skyrim content, dude. That's what I should be doing. I should make some... I should drop Elden Ring and start making, like, Skyrim fucking nerd vids. I should be doing that. I think I'm gonna do that. I should start making Skyrim vids. Skyrim challenge runs kind of pop off. When I complete my run, maybe I'm gonna do another one on stream. Because I'm, Lazy, I don't know if you were there, but I'm basically doing Skyrim, Legendary Survival, Unpaused Menu, Permadeath, with no Legendary skills. I'm doing a run like that. And, man, my last run ended in the most sad way possible. Everything was set up. I had all my black books. I was super far. And in the fight leading up to Mirac, I fell into the poisonous water. Because I did a power attack and it glanced past the enemy and, like, pushed me to the side into the water. And so, my death was basically, like, self-inflicted, so to speak. I didn't, like, die to an enemy or anything like that. That was a sad one because that run was, like, pretty much perfect. But, you know, back at it again. Now I'm starting again, and this run's gonna be it, I think. What I'm thinking of, though, for a stream is I'm thinking of, like, doing a run like that, but with even more restriction. Meaning that, you know, like, a run like this with no alchemy, no enchanting, and no smithing. Basically trying to do the same thing, but without any of the crafting. So you'd basically be forced to always buy the best thing available. That would be extremely hard, though, because on Legendary, like... the enemies are so ruthless. That's just brutal. Yeah, that would be insanely brutal. That's basically a randomizer run. That would be very brutal, but like the problem with the crafting is that it's not entertaining for the viewers. That's the thing, because technically the way to play this run, the optimal way to play it is to take your time, max out fucking smithing, you know, max out enchanting. You basically need to max out everything. How do we try to attack? You know, like, the way to play is, like, you're gonna need to spend, like, a long time maxing out, like, enchanting, smithing, alchemy, probably like, speech as well. And so if you're gonna max out all of these things, it's gonna be very tedious for the viewers, and you're gonna lose the attention. So either you do a run like that where the grinding happens off stream, and then once the build is quote-unquote ready, then you start streaming it, or you just straight up do, like, no crafting. You find it more enjoyable to seek out gear? Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's just that if you're doing permadeath on Legendary, though, The gear you find is just not strong enough. That's the problem. Like, the game is really fucking hard. Because like if you don't have that crafting, like Nightrider said, like you're just gonna, the game is gonna force you to become like a cheese archer, basically, or like a cheese sneak build. Like there's only so many ways that can work, or you just like cannon fodder conjuration. And you know, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play like that, to each his own. But, like, if I was to do this for the stream, like, I need to consider these things to make it interesting, at least. Would you use spells? AE? Anniversary Edition spells? Yeah, I would use Anniversary Edition stuff. You played Legendary without crafting once, you focused heavily on stealth. I mean, it's because you have to, that's the thing. Like, if you put a restriction there, which is the best thing, then the next best thing is gonna come naturally, right? Like, the next best thing is gonna be, like, stealth archery or stealth dagger, you know? But I think that could be a fun challenge, you know? Legendary difficulty, survival mode, no crafting. So it would be brutal. Armadet as well. How did he get there without... Oh, jumped like I was doing earlier. Oh, they came out. Oh. Oh, come on, Malakon. He saved him. A poison sword is not the play, like, frost is a lot better. LOL, he killed both of them! That's actually funny. Stealth plus illusion, Dark Brotherhood glove, Blade of Woe is your only way of fighting anything remotely difficult. You stalled the Dragon Rising quest because there's 0 chance you can kill the dragon early on too. Dude, absolutely, like, I fully agree with you, like, it's fucking brutal. But I think that's what's fun, right? Like, we're all talking here about, like, our experiences with the game and, like, how difficult it is, but I think that's what's fun about these runs, is, like, we actually have to think about it. Because it's so hard that you can't just play the game, like, you have to plan everything. I kind of enjoyed that. Can't imagine first Alduin fight. Maybe for Alduin we would have to fucking do the Messmoon Dagon quest and get the fucking cheese one-shot chance dagger and just try to RNG our way through fucking victory. That would be funny. You did that too? Bro, great minds think alike. Have you seen what speedrunners do to kill dragons? No, I have not. What do they do, Montage? Maybe I should watch what speedrunners do, actually. Could give me some ideas. Where do they end up by going there? I forgot how to get down there. Is it from here? I don't think so. Oh yeah, it is, I think, right? Yeah, it is from here. Never mind. We're going... I saw them. We're going places now. Take a bucket and store velocity like a slingshot. No way, that's actually crazy. Dude, that's actually insane. Take a bucket and store velocity and basically slingshot a bucket at max speed using the game's weird physics to one-shot Parthenax and Alduin. No way, that's crazy. That is crazy. I feel like anniversary content should only be available like only later in the game. Having Dragon Plate at level 1 is something. Yeah, it definitely ruins the flow of the game. Same thing with like, you know, like if you're gonna optimize like playing with no crafting, basically like the play would be to, like you said, you use the anniversary content to like get some dragon plate armor from the get-go at level 1. You steal the Daedric fucking crossbow from the archer vendor in Solitude. And so, like, right from the get-go, like, you have some fucking Daedric crossbow and, like, dragon armor gear. And it just completely, like, you know, makes everything that you would find, like, pointless. That's why, at least if you don't limit yourself to no crafting, at least those are not optimal, and like the crafting becomes optimal, which makes the strategy to approach things a lot more varied. You have to fish on your nose crafting run. Yeah, that's true actually, because you get some pretty good like the ring that gives you like resist magic, resist poison, and like resist shock. Like that's a pretty legit ring if you're not gonna enchant your own gear. Oh, I missed what the YouTube chat was saying. Is your goal to beat the main story plus DLC, or just doing Elduin, like any percent run? No, my goal for the permadeath survival mode, legendary, no legendary skills, unpaused menu, unofficial patch. So all these things, my goal is to beat the entire game. So beat Miraak, beat the Vampire Lord, and beat Alduin. I don't know if I'll do like the mage, the companion, and the thief quest. Like I've done those plenty of times. They're not necessarily like they're fun, but like I don't know. Like to me, beating the game is really mostly like those 3 fights. And like I'm not a big fan. Like I still like to keep my characters like, you know, like if I'm making a warrior character, like I don't necessarily want to have like a, or like if you're doing like an honest character, maybe you don't want to do like the Thief Guild quest, right? Because your character's honest. Maybe you don't want to have to do the Dark Brotherhood, so you just destroy it. I got you to want to play Skyrim? Dude, I'm having so much fucking fun with Skyrim, man. Like, I'm having so much fun with it. That's why that's why I'm talking about it so much. I'm having so much fun with Skyrim, and it's basically the game that I'm playing in my free time now. And I'm loving every second of it. It's a lot of fun. It's just the ultimate sandbox. Such a good game. Yeah, I love it. I love Skyrim. I'm having so much fun with it. And obviously, you know, the mod support is great. like right now my game is pretty much vanilla for the most part, like aside from the restrictions I just mentioned, you know, the unofficial patch, like a few bug fixing and unpaused menu. Oh wow, if I rolled inward, I would have been so dead. Insane lock-on. You know what? Oh, it saved him! Oh my god, he got saved so bad. I was about to end the Phantom. Dude, that all comboed. What the fuck? I'm going the wrong way, too. There you go. Finally. Vanilla means only 30 mods? Exactly. That's actually so funny because that's so true. It's like, if... I don't know about you guys, but for me, like, even though I want a vanilla experience, the actual vanilla experience is simply too broken. Like, you have to prevent yourself from using, like, half the stuff in the game. Like, you know, like, restoration glitch just breaks everything. There's so many, like, exploits that make the game, like, trivial. You know, like, the actual vanilla game, like, you know, like, the undead perk, you know, making yourself a vampire is, like, so much stronger than not being a vampire. Like, the base game has too many, like, completely broken mechanics that it's hard to play vanilla right now. Like, you do need, like, a minimum of fixing to actually get the quote-unquote, like, intended vanilla experience. Otherwise, it's just gonna be, like, a glitch fest. As you can't, like, unknow what you know. Yeah, exactly. Like, I do feel like that you need... Like, if you're gonna attempt, like, any... Like, if you... Let's just say... Because everyone can play however they want. Like, it's a single-player game, whatever. But if you're gonna attempt, like, any sort of challenge run, and of any way, shape, or form, you do need the unofficial patch. Otherwise... It's too easy otherwise to just break the game, like from the get-go. Like, there's just too many ways to break it. At least with the unofficial patch, like, you can't just completely break the game, like, without even trying. That's how I see it. You love Necromage Vampire, it's probably your favorite playthrough. Well, that's because in the vanilla game, if you're not doing Restoration Glitch, it's like one of the next most broken thing, really. Like, in my current run, the way I'm leveling up is, like, I'm basically leveling up every skill that I can level up, like, without too much effort, and then the ones that require a lot of effort, like, I'm basically training at a, you know, at a trainer between each level. And so it costs a lot of gold, so I'm paying all of that by doing, like, runs around the city to, like, sell potions. And so, like, I'm maxing out all these skills, like, fairly quickly by just buying training between levels. And so that way I'm able to have, like, a fairly advanced character before going adventuring. Even in skills that would normally take a while to get higher. Or no crafting, are you allowing yourself to make potions for money? No, I'm not doing the no crafting one. Like, right now, I'm not doing the no crafting. We were talking for the stream. I'm not doing no crafting at the moment. This run would be for the stream. Oh, the host is dead. If I was to do a no crafting, like the no crafting would be for the stream, because technically, like the crafting part would be boring to watch. So you just straight up remove it. Problem again with the no crafting part is that the next best thing, like, the thing to do would be to always try to get the best gear you can find, and with the anniversary content, it's like you can go grab some like dragon plate armor from the get-go, you know, you can go grab Diedrich from the get-go, you know, like you said, the spells are very strong. So it would almost have to be like special edition, not anniversary edition, and that also creates like a problem for like the other mods. But yeah, you guys are... Dude, you guys get me to talk about Skyrim for literally half the fucking stream. And I didn't see the time pass, and we barely invaded while talking about it, too. Which is so funny. I think we're gonna do that run eventually. We're gonna do that Skyrim run. Nudo and Lizzie, what are your favorite shouts in your Skyrim runs? What shout do you find yourself using the most? Become Ethereal? Okay, yeah, you're a real one. Become Ethereal. Okay, you guys are real ones. Sometimes, you know, I hear people say, like, you know, fucking Fusroda or Slow Time or Mark for Death, but I think the only good answer is Become Ethereal. It is the most useful spell, for sure, for like... It's basically your dodge button, really. If you think about it, it's your iframes button. 18 seconds of no dead, yep. On a 20-second cooldown, I think. Actually, for the first word, I think it's 20 seconds. I don't know how long it lasts for the first word, though. I don't think it's 18 seconds. Or is it 30 seconds? No, I think it's 30 seconds. 18 seconds for a 30-second cooldown, is it? I forget. I'm not sure if it's 20 or 30-second cooldown. Alright, let's ask, what is the next best shout after Become Ethereal? Because everyone agrees that it's the best one. Like 10 seconds on the first word. It's 10 seconds between the next shout. But the full cooldown, I think, is like 20. Yo! Jesus Christ, guys. Oh, come on. I'm stuck here. Woo! Holy shit. They are frame trapping me like so fucking much, it's crazy. Oh, come on, shit net. I think we're gonna take our time because they're so fucking close to each other and they keep spamming and the latency for the host is completely ass. We're gonna focus on the one that's not latent, which is the Phantom. We're gonna focus on this guy. There you go. Host left him. All right. Dude, we almost lost that one. All right, let's hear it. What are your next favorite shouts? Because everyone agrees Become Ethereal is the best. So we got Dragon Aspect, but it's usually really late into the run. Yeah, Dragon Aspect is a late game shout. Elemental Fury is pretty fun. Yeah, that's a good one. Ice Form's pretty useful. I feel like Frostbrent with the DLC effect of like encasing enemies in ice is just better than Ice Form. Shouts are so underused that you're always spamming them from cooldown. Personally, I think I like Whirlwind Sprint. But it's more like utility because you're just, you know, running around faster. It's not really like combat use much. Although I did start using Whirlwind Sprint like over Become Ethereal in some fights in my permadeath run to close in on the enemy. Because sometimes I would rather kill one enemy quickly instead of becoming immortal. Because, like, let's say, like, there's two, like, I'm fighting two enemies separate from one another. I'd rather kill one quicker than become immortal until I reach one of them, and then I'm gonna be stuck, like, fighting the two, like, point blank. So, like, there's certain situations where I prefer Whirlwind. Ice Form can be used to deal with the OP modded bosses. Are there any, like, OP modded bosses from the creation stuff? I haven't fought, like, bosses from the creation content. You can get killed by Whirlwind Sprint? Yeah, that's true. Like, I need to be careful about that. Every time I'm in an area where there's a risk of dying to gravity, like, I unequip fucking Whirlwind Sprint. Even, like, going down from the College of Winterhold to the city, like, I unequip it just to be safe because I'm scared. I'm scared of, like, pressing it by accident or something. Have you ever tried Wheeler mod? It's kind of GTA menu. You can configure it for slow-mo or pause. No, I don't like... One thing that I hate more than pause menu is slow motion menu. Oh, come on. And my weapon fucking in the clip. These guys had no HP. That would be a devastating fat finger moment, yeah. Your right bumper is super sensitive. Yeah, controller moments, dude. At mode with no HP? Why these players? No wonder they need help. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna do a last one, guys. The game's pretty dead today. Like, you got me streaming way longer than I thought for the amount of activity we're getting. But I had a lot of fun just monologuing about Skyrim. It's just such a fun game. It's not dead for you? Maybe I'm invading at the wrong spot then. My favorite spell, guys. Very fair spell. Oh my god, with the fucking fell from the other guy. That was so unfortunate for him. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it here. Oh, fun fucking conversation. Fun stuff, dude. Alright guys, thank you so much for coming by again today, even though this was not very active. I appreciate the entertaining discussions though. Thanks everyone again, I really appreciate it. Let's see if we can raid someone. Alright guys, Ludwig, thanks man, have a good one dude. Yo baby turtle, take care dude. Night Rider, thanks a lot. Eternal 7 art. Strongest ever. Soundgarden, Shade, Frenzied Shade, Chirico, Nudo. Thanks for talking Skyrim with me, man. All right, who's on right now? Let's see. Let's see. We got Right on Daddy. We got Swoosh just chatting. Oh shit, Montage is playing Skyrim! I mean, we have to raid Montage, like, after all that talk. Let's raid Montage. I mean, we have to. Alright, see you guys.